Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marina and I am so glad to have you here again. Thank you for the engagement with my last few videos. Thank you for all the comments. For those of you who have sent me emails, I'm going to get to them, I promise. For those of you who haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Red button, press it down below. So like I said in my last video, I was going to share with you guys what it was like for me to go back to school. Oh, don't even mind the glasses, you guys. It's not shakara. I can't see very well. The last two videos, I promised you guys that we will try to be sane and be proper. But man, my eyes started doing like this. So yeah, I'm short-sighted, you guys. That's why. So if there's any glare, please just ignore it. But so how things are in Nigeria, you can have a biochemistry degree or a microbiology degree like me. My bachelor's degree was in microbiology, but all the work experience I've had was in customer service, administration and human resources. The average Nigerian employer understands that transition. So if they see biochemistry on your resume and you have administrative work experience, you can get a job as an administrator. It doesn't matter what your area of previous study was. But here, I think a major issue that I encountered was convincing Canadian employers that I have the proper training for the work experience that I say I have had, right? There was no relationship between what I studied and the work experience that I had. So it was hard explaining the transition. I attended a few interviews. One of them I was very excited about. I was almost sure that, okay, I was going to get this one. I nailed this one. But when it came to skills and abilities, that's where it always ended up. The feedback I got after the interviews always used to say they were not very sure about my skills and my abilities, and it all boiled down to that my previous education did not align with my work experience. I was speaking with a friend of mine one day. He was living in the US at the time, and he said, hey, have you considered going back to school, doing a short course? I'm like, okay, it's something I was thinking about, but now that somebody else has said it, maybe this is the way to go. So I went online. I found this place that seemed like it was closest to what I was looking for. The program was going to be 2 years and it was going to cost me about $18,000, guys. I almost committed to that. Which now brings me to the importance of asking questions and networking. I was already confused, like 18 grand, like, oh, how am I going to pay for this? And because we came in through the federal skilled worker program, I could not access Saskatchewan student loans at that time because I had not lived in Saskatchewan for up to 12 months. That's the requirement. Now, the exception to that is for people who landed not through federal, but through provincial nomination. For people who landed through provincial nomination, you are able to access student loans almost immediately. I almost committed to that program of 18 grand for 2 years, and for me, I thought it was too long, but I didn't think I had options. And then of course, I started asking questions. I had met a few people from church who had been introduced to by my host. And one day I was talking to one of them and I'm like, hey, I found the school. This is how much it was. This is how much it is. And it's going to be for 2 years. And somebody else who I didn't even know, but was a friend to this person I was talking to, turned and said, hey, there are other schools you can go to. The programs are shorter and they are cheaper. And she gave me like a name. I said, hey, check out this place. So I checked online and their courses were in class. Check. That was very good for me. And then secondly, the program that I was looking at that would have been 2 years in this other place was 10 months in this place. Check. It was in class. I had to go there 8:30 to 3:30 Monday to Thursday. Another check. Like everything was just falling into place. So I reached out to them, called the number on the website and booked an appointment to meet an advisor. The program that I had in mind before I went there was the program that the person who told me about it suggested. The program wasn't my first choice. So when I went to the advisor, I asked them like, okay, what other options do I have? And I realized that they had other programs that I felt were better suited for me. So I'm like, oh wow, this is what I'm looking for. So immediately I paid the application fee, filled out the form, and about a week later, I got accepted. And then came the big thing, funding. Now this program, for this new school, it was about 10,000. So we started looking at options. Student loans is now out of the question. And then asking questions, doing research, I stumbled on this organization called Immigrant Access Fund. So they are no longer called Immigrant Access Fund. They are now called Windmill Micro Lending. That's the organization I reached out to. And then they sent me application forms. There was a lot of questions they were asking, like, how is this going to be relevant to you? Have you been accepted in a school? I had to include my acceptance letter and just breakdown of what I was going to do in the application. Now, Immigrant Access Fund is set up to help immigrants get back to school so that they can get into the workforce here in Canada. I don't think they have enough funding to give everybody who applies money. So the selection process is a bit strict. They do a lot of screening to double check the information you have given. You will provide references, you will provide information from the school, and they double check all those information just to be sure that they are giving the money to the people who actually need it. So I went through that selection process. There was a phone screen, there was a Skype interview, I had to write, like, bottom line. I was selected, I got the loan, and it was okay to go back to school. I was going to start paying back immediately, but for the first year I paid only the interest, and then after that I started to pay principal plus interest. But they assume that by the time you start to pay principal plus interest, you would have finished the program and you would have gotten a job, so it will not be too much of a hassle. I'm just going to put this out there. School was tough work. I was going to school in a new country. I had children who were 3 and 2 years old by that time. And the time I started a program like October. It's October now and it's already getting really cold. I started that program in October when the temperatures were already dropping. So I was going to go to school in a new place in those harsh temperature conditions and then come back home to be mommy to 3 and 2 year olds. Like, it was a lot of work. It was a lot to juggle at the same time. But guys, let me tell you what my motivation was. Number one, I borrowed the money that I was using to go to school. You know when you're owing it, you must read because you can't afford to fail. You're already $10,000 in debt. So for me, that was a big motivation. Like, every time I thought I can't do this anymore, I think about my babe, 10 grand. So yeah, that was the first thing I needed to push myself to read. And then secondly, being an immigrant just means that you do twice the work. You can disagree with me on this one, but you do twice the work. It feels like you have to run. You're trying to catch up with something that has already passed. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I had to push myself. I could not afford to go there and be nonchalant. For me, it was like this was the only option that I had, and I was going to take advantage of it. Not because somebody had trusted their money with me, but it was like, I mean, you moved here because you wanted to start again. You must start well. Like, put your best foot forward. Do you understand what I mean? And so for me, that was my push. Were there days where I woke up and I said, you know what, I cannot do this anymore? Absolutely. Especially when real winter hit. I would never forget, I think it was in January of 2017, the day that school resumed. You guys, the temperature that day was minus 33 degrees. It was the coldest I had seen at that time because, man, you guys, last year, this February this year, I saw minus 50. So that time, minus 33, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to lose my mind. As soon as I got off the bus, it's like a 2-minute walk from the bus stop to my school, but I could not feel my cheek. It was almost like my face was numb. I'm like, what kind of life is this, guys? I broke down. I just started crying in school. Like, that day I had it. Like, but hey, it didn't take up to an hour. I felt better and reminded myself, Marina, why are you really doing this? And that's all the push I needed to keep going, you guys. So school was hard. I had to read. Like, every day when I came home, I dedicated at least an hour or two. After I got home, made sure there was going to be food for everybody before they came back, because I would typically get home before the rest of my family. I made sure that, okay, there was food and everything was going to run, and then after they came and everybody had eaten, it was straight to my books. I had no excess time for frivolities. I had no time for TV, really. Like, I dedicated that much time to my books. And for me, I like book. I just like things that expand my mind, like sit down there, learn something new. So I was very excited about the opportunity to learn. I met really amazing people in school. Some of them are still my friends till now. Some of them were very patient to explain things to me. My instructors were very patient to explain. Like, I always had questions. I was the only Nigerian in that class. And then I started meeting people, meeting other Nigerians who were in the school as well. Maybe the entire school were like 2 or 3. One thing I tried not to do was keep my interactions only among Nigerians. Now that's one mistake I find that a lot of people make. If your friends are only Nigerians, now there's nothing wrong with that. There's that sense of, oh, there's somebody else who can relate to what's happening with me. But you cannot restrict your interactions, your close associations to only Nigerians. Because you know why? You would never be able to see things from another perspective. Guys, I found that the average Canadian who lives in Saskatchewan has never really seen this much influx of immigrants into Saskatchewan. So for them, I find that people are also trying to understand what is it like for you as an immigrant. And if all we do is keep our associations among only the people who are from our own countries, those people will never really be able to get to us, and we will be so closed, we will not learn anything from them. I feel like this part is going to be an entire video on its own. But for school, I had people who were willing to teach, and I was open to learn. I tried out things I'd never eaten before. I found that the more willing I was, the more open I was to try those Canadian things, the more open people were to try my own things, because I showed an interest in what was happening to them. Because the truth is, Canada is not going to adjust to you. It's the other way around. You are the one who would adjust to what is obtainable here. So if you're not open to taking those steps, it will be hard. It will be hard. Like I said, I'm going to do a separate video what it really means to adjust to a new place. School was, yeah, like I said, it was tough, it was hard, but at the end of the day, guys, I did a total of 23 courses in 9 months. And you guys, I would say my hard work paid off, because in those 23 courses that I did, you guys, I don't mean to brag, but I'm just saying this so that one person out there will be encouraged to know that this thing is possible. Out of 22 courses, my lowest score was 91%. There were courses I did where I had 100 over 100, guys. I pushed myself. I knew I wanted to succeed, but I didn't know that I could succeed like that. It just tells me that, look, if you set your heart to anything, you can actually do it in those adverse conditions. By the time I was graduating, I was nominated to be a part of the graduation ceremony committee. So I was part of people who represented the student body at our graduation ceremony, and I had to give like a speech during our graduation ceremony. And guys, I was very, very proud of myself. I thought that was all, you guys. The most interesting part of all of this is, after I graduated, the school offered me a job. So I transitioned from student to staff. It was very awkward. I'd gotten so used to doing things as a student, it took some time to adjust to doing it as a staff. Like, that was not enough. Every year, the school used to, at the end of the academic year, when they put together like an award for people who had the highest overall percentages in different programs. Because I was now working there, the responsibility to do that, to put those numbers together, was my job, right? When I pulled out the top highest overall average in the academic year, my name was on it. In fact, the difference between my overall average and the person who had the overall best graduating result, the difference between our averages was 0.03%. Pay me small. And I started thinking like, hey, that course that I had 91, if I had 93, I'd have been the highest, but hey, don't mind me. My name was there. And we were in the papers. I got a check, I got a certificate, and they published our pictures in the papers. So guys, I was in the papers for the right reasons. And it was so rewarding. It was just so humbling to see like the direct result of hard work translate into not just a job, but that kind of award, and then to now be put in the papers. It was super fun. So that was my going back to school experience, what it was like for me. And as soon as I started working there, guys, I started getting calls from people. I became an unofficial education counselor, and I enjoyed it. It was very humbling to be in that position where I could provide first-hand information to people who were like me, who were in positions that I had been in. And I'm just so grateful that I've always been in positions where I have the information to share with these people. Because guys, chances are you will need to go back to school depending on where you are in your career. So keep it in mind that it may become imperative for you to go back to school. Canadian education on a resume will sell faster than work experience from another country. Employers can more readily relate with your resume if there's Canadian education on it. So that's an option that you should be open to. Thank you again for coming. I hope you found the information here useful. If there's anything you want me to talk about, if there's any questions you have, you know what to do. Leave me a comment, send me an email, and I'll gladly talk about it. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.